And this is it. A pretty little piece with a nice surface decoration, completely finished, no solder to sand. If you do your tinning or your sweat soldering correctly, there's no cleanup. I'm going to do a bit of applique, which is just soldering bits on the outside of a piece of metal. This is teardrop shaped wire that I'm going to cut little slices off, and then I'll solder them on. So I'm going to what they call tin these. I'm going to solder just a little bit on each one, so that when I place it and solder it, I won't have a smear of solder to clean up. This is sweat soldering, and we're just pre-soldering these. So I'm picking up a piece of hard solder with my brush, and I'm just going to place it on top. Do all four. Do all of them. A nice neutral flame, and we're just going to gently pass the heat on and off till the flux dries out. We don't want to bounce the solder off. Once it's dry, it'll be a crusty white, and then we can just gently circle the piece. The solder will flow like that. You don't have to flow it completely, as long as it starts to flow. Keep these warm and shift them off of the flux, otherwise it just glues it to your soldering block. And then we'll place them on our piece to solder it. This is a piece of sterling silver, and I'm going to put my little brass teardrop shapes on. So you flux the piece and put the solder bit down against the sterling. Warm up your piece. The flux will dry out and it'll get sticky, and then you can just push the pieces around where you want them with your tweezers and solder pick. Now, at this point, you can put them where you want them and they'll stay. You always have to keep the flux warm, otherwise it just gets really hard. So now, circle the piece. Don't put your flame directly on your little pieces, otherwise the solder will just jump up to the top of them. And when your main piece comes up to temperature, the solder will flow. The little pieces will just settle down in position. And there you go. Pickle this, file these to your proper height, polish it, and you're finished. This is the piece fresh out of the pickle. So I've dried it off, and you can see how there's a nice little meniscus solder line around each piece. I'll file it back to within about a mil of the surface, and then I'll polish it. Ready for polishing? And this is it. A pretty little piece with a nice surface decoration, completely finished, no solder to sand. If you do your tinning or your sweat soldering correctly, there's no cleanup.